You? Everybody else has a light bar? You know what a light bar is?
We know what a light bulb is. God.
Why'd you just say that?
Yeah, I was mocking this.
Alright.
You're not gonna talk, dog.
Gotta talk a little bit.
Because we're kind of into it already.
Gotta talk a little bit though.
What the hell?
Gotta talk a little bit. How you gonna?
I mean, because I'm just saying, we're kind of already into the motions. Like, we're already.
Okay.
I see God.
I should just let it go.
Yeah, I'm stabbing back.
Just let it go.
What? Not today. I was stabbing
Okay. Well, let me just
put the shit in there.
say a few words. Just a few. Be long. Alright. There's a couple of things you need to be working on today. Of course, it's your animation, but I think a couple of things just to keep in mind. Those key drawings that you have, what you should have done is remove them from the storyboard. Okay, and if you did that, that's always the first step, which is a good step. You're going to notice that some of the drawings, vis-a-vis like the main key drawings, they may not, when you flip them, they may not actually move really smoothly. You're going to have to incorporate some in-betweens. Okay, but at this point, the in-betweens that you're actually putting in there, those aren't in-betweens. Those are still key drawings. They're still key drawings. Meaning that what makes the animation move smoothly is when you actually have enough drawings, enough key drawings, to actually create what they call like a path of action, where you have a smooth flow. Where you have like the character does one action, it starts at one point and it gets to another point. Okay? The in-betweens, we haven't got to this point yet, I was going to talk more about it next week, but the in-betweens are the drawings where in the event you realize that they're actually not moving really smoothly, you add a drawing in there. The in-betweens are only added when you need to smooth out the action. That's the only reason you need to employ it. You don't just put them in there just to put them in there. Only when you need to smooth out the action. That's when you need to put it in. And the last and final point I want to make is that, and I'll talk more about this as time goes on, there's a such thing as a breakdown drawing. True enough, the breakdown drawing, for sources to be known, is the most important drawing in animation. The breakdown drawing is that drawing that's distorted. It's the one where, like the example I gave you with Bart Simpson. Bart starts with the motion where he's stationary in one position. The next motion we see is Bart actually starting to act. His head goes down, his eyes start to close. The next action, his eyes actually are closing. This is the beginning of what you call an anticipation. That's why they call it an abbreviated antic. It's an anticipation. An anticipation is a reverse action. In other words, his eyes are closed, his head is down. He has to do a reverse action to complete the anticipation, which means that the next key drawings will be him working in reverse. He goes from his head down to his head going back up. His arms that were down starts to move up. It's reversing the action. Okay? The breakdown drawing, as they call it, can also be termed as an overshoot. In other words, Bart's down, his hands are down, they come up, as his head comes up, he thrusts his hands way back, right? Well, the overshoot or the breakdown drawing actually is the height of the action. And then the next drawing is what they call it, is before they settle in. So it goes to a really distorted action and then it slowly goes back. The next drawing is it slowly going back so it can get the guy or the character back into this position or a position where he actually can rest. Okay, so he's in the air and he goes back down. And in Bart's case, his hands go way back and then the should be another one if you want to okay, and then there should be another drawing where he brings his hands back down because his hands can't be like that throughout the whole action where he's walking around with his hands like that. He needs to bring his hands back down to settle, so he goes back to a normal position. Just wanted to point that out because when you're sketching out your designs, keep in mind that if it looks like there's this huge gap between one action and another action, that just means that you need to employ or you need to add in another keyframe. Okay? If there's a gap where your character is in this position and the next keyframe you have, your character's in the air and his legs are in the air, well, of course, you're going to need one that actually shows, or several that show how he gets propelled into the air. You need to do that. And those are keys. Those are still keyframes. And it's all it is, these keyframes, this practice is smoothing out the action, is what you're doing. You're smoothing it out. So that when you do actually go back and you review it, and you flip it, or you shoot it, you can see where you need to add in betweens. Okay? That's the only point I wanted to make today. Because it's like the first thing in Animation 101. First thing you want to do is you want to actually design or draw all of your keyframes first, you know, and then go back and add the in-betweens. You know, it'll work out better because that'll give it an even flow. That'll make it have an even flow. I was gonna actually show you guys, show it on this CD, but unfortunately the CD player's not working. So, explain. Okay, so you can continue working on your designs. I'm gonna leave the lunchbox because I want to shoot something.